but it's fine now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the 15th episode of the Sporting Updates podcast. I'm your host, as always, Sam Fonseca, and today I'm joined by a very good friend, Steph. How are you doing today, Steph?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, really good after yesterday's win. So today we'll have a good show.
Indeed. We're also joined today by Danny.
Hey, what's up, boys? How are you guys?
Not bad after the victory. So, yeah, like Steph said, should be a fun episode. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SCPUpdatesEN. And as always, we'll start off with the true or false questions. Basically, I asked Danny and Steph a true or false statement or question, and they'll answer true or false and say why. And the first one goes to you, Danny, and it's about Podence. And it says, should Podence be pissed off with JJ?
I'd say so. I understand the emotional aspect of Brian Ruiz coming back and playing the game yesterday, but at the same time, Podence has done everything well. He's done everything correct. He deserved to at least be coming off the bench as well, ahead of a guy that we wanted to sell in the summer. So I'd say so. Yeah, he has every right to be a little annoyed at JJ.
This one is for you, and it's if you were looking throughout the whole team, Bas Dost is the weak link of the team. True or false?
You're asking me that question?
Yeah.
No, it's false. Of course, it's false. Bas Dost is not the weakest link of the team whatsoever. So no, that's false.
Okay, then to reverse that, who do you think in the starting 11? Who would you point out as not the weakest link, but just in a position we could improve, I guess?
Okay, that's a good one. I would say whoever plays next to Bas Dost to support him. So it's been different players. So I'm not going to say one specific player, but whoever plays next to him, they have to do a better job adapting to him and be a better support cast to Bas Dost. So that's it. Because I'm expecting that player next to Bas Dost also to score goals. We couldn't rely on Bas Dost all the time. Like yesterday was actually pretty good because we had Battaglia and Justin Martins scoring the goals, which is great. But that's it. That's what I would say.
Fair enough. Danny, what do you think? Who do you think is the weakest link of this sporting team?
Yeah, I'd agree with Steph there that maybe the second striker. Maybe we need maybe not necessarily the weakest link as it terms to quality, because I think Bruno Fernandes or Gelson or Podence, they've done a great job there. But maybe we need more depth in that area, I'd say. I don't think we have enough attacking midfielders, because from really all we have, in my opinion, is Bruno Fernandes and maybe even Podence that can play that position pretty well. So I'd say that's probably our weakest link.
Fair enough. And the final true or false is back to what I said earlier to Danny, and this one is to both of you, but I'll give it to Steph first. And it's George Jesus was too emotionally invested in playing Brian Ruiz instead of giving opportunities to people who deserve it, such as Daniel Podence. True or false?
No, that's false. Before I go on with this, I'd just like to tell our followers and fans that Danny Saldana now is a part of the team. He'll be full-time with us. So he's no longer a guest. He's part of our team. So I don't think we ever gave him a proper introduction. Because I went back to our podcast, I'm like, oh, shit, we skipped it. So all the fans, all the followers, Danny Saldana from Canada, representing the country of Canada, will be part of the team now of the Sporting Updates. But to answer the question, no, false. Of course, it's false. Brian Ruiz plays a different position than Podence. Has nothing to do with that. If that was the case, then Brian Ruiz would be the one being really upset because he hasn't played so far. So he gave him a few minutes, actually like 15 minutes. So, and unlike what I saw, he likes a rhythm, but no, that's false. I don't see the Podence and Brian Ruiz I don't see it. Why is that a problem? I don't see it.
Fair enough. Danny, what do you think?
I think it's true. I think maybe the emotional side of it got the better of Jorge Jesus because, Brian Ruiz to come into an important game like that without much, first team minutes, without any really. The only first team minutes he really had this season was with Costa Rica. I don't think he was necessarily deserving of it. And then when he came on, he didn't necessarily show anything uh, of great quality. To be honest, I have no real idea of why, what the idea behind Judge Jesus' tactics were on bringing Brian Ruiz, as it seemed like he was in the midfield, and that's not really his best quality. I think he's better off on the wing or even behind the striker. So to see him so deep with William, I don't know. I didn't quite get that. But yeah, I think the whole emotional aspect of it got the better of him, and that's why maybe he played Brian Ruiz ahead of people like Podence, or I don't even know why even Pelinga wasn't even on the bench, or not Ristowski. Petrovic wasn't on the bench either. So that confused me a little bit. And just to go back on what Steph said, I'm happy to be a part of the team. Love talking about Sporting and to be around two great Sportingistas. Something I'm proud about. So thanks, guys. Thanks for having me a part of the team.
Not a problem. You did deserve it. You've been fantastic ever since you got on the show. So congratulations to you. Next is the Twitter questions. We had 3 today, and one of them was from Steph, but I'll leave that one to last. The first 2 questions are from our friends at the Tiki Taka podcast. Make sure you go subscribe to them on iTunes and YouTube. Their question, I'll give this one to Steph first, and it was, how did you think Brian Ruiz played?
I think he played fairly well for someone that was not playing since June, July. Even the preseason he didn't play. So for someone without rhythm, he didn't complicate. He did fairly well. I understand why Jorge Jesus called him. Acuna was still not at 100%. He was afraid that he might need someone on the left wing. It was like more precaution than anything. So I think he did okay. Of course, he can do much better. But any Sportingista that says, "Oh my God, I know I was expecting more from him," come on. He didn't play an official game for a while now. The only time he played officially was with Costa Rica, the national team. So we got to cut him some slack, like we cut a lot of our players slack. So I think he did okay, but of course I'm expecting much better from him, and that's it.
Fair enough. Danny, what do you think?
I think he did okay as well, but nothing tremendous, nothing that I thought warranted a spot ahead of Podence coming off the bench. Or, again, I'm not sure, maybe they are injured, but I haven't heard any news on why Pelinga or Ristovski wasn't on the bench. We lost Battaglia to injury in like the 70th minute. I think we needed somebody more to reinforce the midfield rather than Brian Ruiz. And I get that we might need more rotation on the wings as Acuna is coming back from an injury, and then Gelson could get injured, etc. But I think that Podence can play a role on the wing. I think Bruno Cesar has shown the last few weeks that he's more than capable of playing a role on the wing. And he did okay. I have a big love-hate relationship with Brian Ruiz, and I was expecting more from him yesterday, at least to silence me, but nothing that he really gave us.
Fair enough, and I'm inclined to agree. But then again, I feel like he did get played out of position. It's almost like he was playing the number 8, helping William Carvalho sustain the midfield. So I don't think we can judge him so quickly based on one performance. But it was a decent performance. Nothing stood out to me. But Brian Ruiz, I think, if he continues working hard, I don't see what can stop him from achieving the goal of just keep getting better. So good luck to him. Next question was also from the Tiki Taka podcast, and they said, was the first goal offside? We discussed this before we went on air a bit, but now we're on air. I'll give it to Danny. Was the first goal offside?
No, it wasn't. One, Bastos is in line with Battaglia. So when it comes off the goalie and hits off Bastos, it's illegal. It's legal. He was onside. So yeah, short answer is no. He's not offside.
Steph, was he offside?
No, I feel the same way, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Sportingista. I mean, if he was offside, it was by one toe, and if you expecting the linesman and the referee and the VAR to get somebody offside by one toe, you need to regroup yourself and start watching another sport because I mean we're talking about millimeters. So, but also I'm questioning the whole thing because it's off a corner kick, and the corner kick, even though it went off somebody from a header from the top of the box, it's still a live play from a corner kick. So from corner kicks, there's no offsides. That's the limit. There's no offsides. No one could be on offside position. So even though he passed the ball, when he crossed the ball from the corner kick to a little bit to the back to the left, it was still live play from the corner kick. So I don't think he was ever in offside, ever.
Yeah, I agree with you both. Much to add there, but yeah, I'd agree. And the last question is actually from Steph, and since he asked it, I'll give it to myself and Danny first. But the question was, what result should we want in the game between Porto and Benfica? And for me, it's easy, 0-0 draw. So just so we can overtake, sorry, should I say, Porto, and then Benfica are still, I think they would still be, 2 points behind us, if that was the case, right?
2 points, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go with the 0-0 draw. Danny, what do you think?
I agree with you 100%. A 0-0 draw with as many injuries as possible. Hopefully Jonas breaks an ankle, Abubakar breaks an ankle, Philippe breaks something, It's anything to help us out,
Steph,
what do you think?
I mean, that's what I want too, and a draw. But some Sportingista could be a little bit more aggressive, and they would say they would prefer Benfica to win. So then we would stay in first place by 1 point of Porto. But I would rather, him tying a draw than that we tie with Porto with the same points, and then we'll be 2 points away from Benfica. And that will make me feel a little bit better. And I think we would be. Oh no, I don't think we would be in first place. Depends on how many goals we have scored. So I have to look into that. But I would prefer a draw as well.
Okay, that's the end of the questions, and I think that's all we got, right, Steph? There's no more.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So pretty much that leads us into the game of a review of yesterday's game, against Paços de Ferreira, which ended in a 2-1 victory. Goals from Battaglia and Gelson. The lineup was as followed: Rui Patricio in goal, Cristiano Pacini, Jeremy Mateu, El Patron Sebastian Coates, Fabio Coentrao, Rodrigo Battaglia, William Carvalho, Bruno Fernandes, Marcos Acuna, Gelson Martins, and Bas Dost. Bruno Cesar came in for Acuna, Brian Ruiz came in for Battaglia, and Andre Pinto came in for Bruno Fernandes. So I'll give this one to you, Steph. What did you think of the game?
Well, like I had predicted on our last podcast, I said that it would be a victory of 1-0 or 2-1, and there it is. It was 2-1. We have the tendency of the very last minutes to somehow suffer a goal, and this goal was at the 90 plus 1 minute. And then the last 2 minutes, actually, we were kind of in control of the game, but I hate to suffer goals at the end. But other than that, the first half, we deserved to be winning by 1-0. I can clearly remember when Gelson Martins, he had a shot on the inside of the box on the left side, which he could have done better, and we could have been 1-0 at that time. Then we had that pretty cool move, dribble by Bas Dost, and then he was 1-on-1 with the goalie, and then the goalie did great. And then we had one shot off the post by Bruno Fernandes, and then we had another dangerous play by Gelson Martins. But finally, we scored like we deserved in the first half to be up 1-0 by Battaglia at the 20th minute. The so-called offside, which he was not. Then in the second half, then we had Gelson Martins at minute 75th scoring the 2-0. And, like it's the tendency If you suffer from heart disease, don't watch the last 15 minutes of the Sporting game because they always make it exciting. I was hoping to win by 2-0, not 2-1. Just it looks better to have a clean sheet. But of course, I'll take the 2-1. But overall, we played well, very solid. Um, Bas Freitas also could have scored. They had one header off the crossbar. But other than that, besides that, I don't think Patricio was like he did have a busy day yesterday. Um, but Bas Freitas was always a little bit dangerous because we allowed them to be. And when we allow the team to be, they will be. And they were playing home. And then, even though we saw more Sportingistas fans in Passo Ferreira than Passo Ferreira fans, but, they're still dangerous. But overall, good performance by our team. But we have to stop suffering those goals at the end of the match. I hate that. But that's it.
Danny, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, it was a good game for the neutral to watch. Always exciting for Spartangistas. A little tough to watch at times. As Steph said, if you're faint of heart, you shouldn't, don't watch Sporting games. I think if you're faint of heart, you shouldn't be a Sportingista. It's the wrong team for you. But yeah, it was a tough game as expected. I think Passo Ferreira was undefeated at home still. And more so than that, Petit, whether he was with Boavista or even Tondela, he always sets up his teams very tough, very gritty, powerful, pacey strikers up top. And he had two yesterday in Welton and the other guy whose name is escaping me right now. Anyways, he always sets his team up to do well on the low block, but to also really go for it and really attack well with the pace that they have. And they have good players. So, it was always going to be a tough game, and that's exactly what it was. They had a few opportunities to score even before their last goal towards the end. They hit the bar off a corner kick when it was still 1-0, and that could have changed the game for us. Luckily, it didn't. Passo Ferreira is a really good team, and I mentioned before, Petit's also a really good coach, and he's starting to develop, I guess, his own style. Portugal. Sorry about that. We had a few opportunities to try to score, but at the end we got the result, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm agree with you both. One thing I did think of the game though, it was very aggressive, and I don't mean in terms of like just attacking and defending. It seemed to be a lot of pushing and shoving and just bad tackles. Like we saw Cunha and the other Paco Severo player, they got a yellow card in the second minute. And it's from there you knew it was going to be a bit of an aggressive game from both sides. Speaking of Acuna, I feel like he was a bit too... I know we always like to see players aggressive, but I think he was just a bit too aggressive in this game. Who else? Yeah, like you said, I think it was a hard game. It was never going to be easy. Sporting don't do easy games. And when we do, we usually cough them up at the last minute, like Olympiacos when we were winning 3-0 and it went 3-2, etc. Like you said, if you have any heart condition, don't be a fan of sport and don't watch any sporting games because it will really test your blood levels. But that being said, I felt like attacking, we were very good. Defensively, I thought we lacked a bit. I felt it was a bit unfair dropping Andre Pinto after the few good games he's had. I know Kawate is obviously the main centre-back in Mateu, but I feel like if you can't disagree with the form that Pinto's been in, and he's been fantastic. So him getting dropped, I guess, probably didn't help the team, who has been, since all these injuries, I feel like we still played very well and played together as a team, which you don't always see with injuries. But at the end of the day, 2-1, 3 points. It doesn't really matter how you get the victory as long as you do. Fantastic performance from, I'd say, almost everyone. There's a few players who I thought, could have stepped up or missed important chances. But speaking of, that brings us to the player ratings. Pretty much we rate players out of 10. And we say why. And Steph, you could start this one off. What would you give Rui Patricio out of 10?
I'm going to give him an 8. I didn't think he had those amazing saves that we saw in the last couple of games. But still very consistent. Still our captain. Still, the legend that he is. Still, but he was not São Patricio yesterday. So I'm a solid 8.
Danny, what would you give Rui Patricio's performance out of 10?
I give him a 9. He, aside from that one goal where even he still got a hand to it, and I think it was more the defenders that let him down rather than his ability. He did everything perfect, I think. Even in the opening minutes, Bas Freire was through on goal, and he had a big hand in saving it, saving the opportunity from going in and from us going 1-0 down so early on. So I think São Patricio gets a solid 9. He's probably not 10 out of 10 just because of the one goal, but even that wasn't really his fault. 9 out of 10 for me.
I don't agree with Steph, give him an 8. I don't think he had a lot to do that game. The goal wasn't his fault as well. I agree with Danny. It was more on the defenders, but it's not his fault as well, because obviously you don't want to be like, Patricio, you should save more, because it's not his choice whether Pacos want to attack or defend. So I only give Rui Patricio an 8. The next player is Cristiano Piccini, and I'll start this one off. I'll give him a 9. I was actually very impressed with Piccini. He's improved every time he's put on the shirt. Every time he touches the ball, I feel like he gets a bit more confident, and surrounded by players on the wing like Gelson. I feel like they've formed a very good partnership together, and I like seeing how much he's improved. And I think a lot of Sporting fans wrote him off a bit quickly. I would say I wrote a doubter of his, and then he's really proved me wrong. So Piccini, I'm going to give a 9. Steph, what would you give Piccini?
Piccini, I'm going to give him an 8 as well. I've seen him play beta games. But he was still phenomenal as far as defending wise, but offensively, I was expecting a little bit more.
Do you want a steak and pizza?
No.
What do you want to eat?
So that's all I'm going to give him.
Okay, Danny, what would you give Piccini out of 10?
No.
I'd give Piccini an 8 as well. He didn't have that same oomph, if you will, offensively, but he was still solid defensively. He still had a good game, which is something we've become used to nowadays with Piccini. And yeah, nothing really much else to say. You guys hit the nail on the head. 8 out of 10 for me.
Fair enough. Next player, Danny, what do you think of Jeremy Mateu's performance out of 10?
To me, he gets a 9 out of 10. He's probably, I still haven't made up my mind, but he might be the man of the match. Yesterday, he had a huge tackle again. Pastoreda was in the box, and Jeremy Mateu comes out of nowhere to block the shot from a sliding tackle to really help out Patricio. Again, he was immense defensively. I hear your point, what you were saying earlier on, maybe we should have left André Pinto to play, and I do kind of agree with you, but I think one player that is undroppable also at the moment is Mateu. He's been immense every time he stepped on the pitch and had the green and white on and the Leão on his pate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. Steph, what would you give Mateu out of 10?
I'm going to give him a 9. Mateu played well. He's he was very consistent. He never ever makes mistakes. When he does, everyone is like, "What the hell is wrong with him? What's going on? Is he sick? Is he injured?" So he was very consistent. He's gelling with Coates, and there's nothing André Pinto can do. And André Pinto is always going to be the third choice. But Jorge Jesus, he said it recently that he totally trusts André Pinto, and he will play him with either Coates or Mateus more often than he's been doing it.
Fair enough. I'm going to give him an 8 as well. I feel like he was solid defensively. Not much. Actually, no, I'll give him a 9. He did do like we've seen some fantastic tackles, and he's always so composed on the ball as well that I think we haven't had a centre-back partnership with him and Coates in such a long time, where I think, wow, when teams like Benfica and Porto come outside, I am confident that we could keep ourselves to a clean sheet. We've already proven that against Porto, where we drew 0-0. But That being said, Mateo is always fantastic. He's yet to have a bad game, I think, in a sporting shirt. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for him. Next player, Steph. What did you think of Sebastian Coates out of 10?
He was very consistent. I mean, he saved us towards the end of the game. He saved us from a very dangerous play. The Pasfreda player was by himself, and he could have scored, and he blocked him, and then it became a corner kick. Again, him and Mathieu, they complete each other. They fully understand each other. They really have a great chemistry. So I'm going to give him an 8, and that's it.
Fair enough. Danny, what would you give the Patron out of 10?
Yeah, I agree with Steph. El Patron gets an 8 out of 10 for me. He was solid. He was consistent as well. He didn't necessarily mess up too much. I think my only problem with Coates is sometimes he seems to be out of position, maybe pushed up a little too much. But nonetheless, he's never really put us in that bad of a position where, we're chasing a forward or whatever. So, he had another, consistent game, another good defensive game. And for that, yeah, he gets an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to agree as well. Out of 10, I get the point of the positioning because I've seen it. I think the thing with Coates is when he goes on a run, he seems to forget that. Notice for him that he is a centre back and his main job is defending. I think he gets too forward, and then when he loses the ball, it's like, oh no, counter attack, and we've only got Mateu and let's say Cohen Trowell back. So that being said, that's something he needs to work on. I think that's something he needed to work on throughout his whole time in Sporting. But that being said, a very consistent performance, and I'll give him an 8. Next player, I'll start this one off as well. Fabio Coentrao, I'll give him a 9. I was very impressed with his performance. Never stopped running, which I know I used a lot about Coentrao, but it's really fantastic considering how low in fitness he was, let's just say, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Now he doesn't stop running. He's like, they've put new batteries in him or something. He's just absolutely fantastic. Proud to have him wear the Sporting shirt. Yeah, 9 out of 10 for Coentrao. Steph, what would you give Coentrao out of 10?
I'm going to give him an 8 as well. He did pretty good. I just felt a couple times in defense, even I saw Mathieu annoyed. He was beaten a few times. And Pasfredes just have some amazing fast players. I didn't know how fast they were until yesterday. When I was watching the game, I was like, what the hell? They got some wheels, these kids. And he got Fabio Coentrão a couple times in trouble. And if you guys go back and rewatch the game, you'll see that Mathieu was telling him, hey, this can happen again. So I'm going to give him an 8. He has to be careful. Defense is always priority than playing offense when you're a left back or right back or defender. And so I'm giving him an 8.
Fair
enough. Danny, what would you give Coentrão out of 10?
I'm going to agree more with you, Sam. Like, he gets a 9 out of 10 for me. I think yesterday I get where Steph's saying that he did let us down maybe once or twice on defense, but going forward, and even still defensively, he didn't have that bad of a game. To me, him and Mateu are probably my joint men of the match. I can't decide between the two of them. I think Coentrão, he was involved with Gelson's second goal, doing a nice 1-2 with Bruno Cesar on the wing. If you want to talk about defensively, one of his plays that I think I almost shed a tear out of joy obviously I'm kidding, but was when one of the Pasfredo wingers was trying to get a cross in and he blocks the first attempt, then the Pasfredo winger gets it again and tries to cross it again, and Fabio Coentrão jumps and blocks it again, sort of gets winded by it. It shows his garra, it shows his his love for the club, like that he said early on when we first signed him. And I think he had I feel like I've been saying this every time I come up here and talk about Coentrão, but I think again he's had probably one of his best performances in a Sporting shirt yesterday. He was great to me. I think he gets a 9 out of 10.
Fair enough. On to Rodrigo Battaglia. Danny, what would you give Battaglia out of 10?
Battaglia gets an 8 out of 10. Of course, he's been an important player for us throughout the season. Again, yesterday, he had a quietly good game, though. Quietly, to his defensive part, but I mean, he got us the first goal through determination from getting that header finally in. And he again, as what's become normal for us, he's connected from defense to attack very well. He's defended very well. He was a solid presence, and when we lost him in the midfield because of injury, I feel like we lost a bit of our dynamic. Those 10 minutes without him, we were learning how to adjust without him. We were learning how, Jorge Jesus was sort of trying to get Brian Ruiz to adapt as an 8 or to adapt in the midfield so that we can become a bit more solid, because without him, there was a good 10 minutes where Pastoreta looked better than us and looked very threatening, like they were about to get the tying goal. So, but yeah, Bataglia, 8 out of 10.
Fair enough. Steph, what would you give Bataglia out of 10?
Well, I guess today we're not going to agree with one another because so far we've been completely off with each other. So I'm going to give him a 9. Bataglia, he just showed that he also can be persistent. When he shows up inside the box, he never gives up. He scored an awesome goal. Not a beautiful goal, but he showed that he never gives up on every play. So he came out at minute 73, like Danny said, because he was injured. But besides that, he does all the dirty work. He's that little formiga that we need, that little ant that does all the work, all the dirty stuff that nobody wants to do. That's him. So he gets a 9 because he scored a goal as well. So he did everything he was supposed to do, and he scored a goal. So that's why he gets a 9.
I'm going to disagree with both of you. He was my man of the match. I thought 10 out of 10. It was either between him or Gelson, but I've gone with Battaglia. I feel like he was absolutely unstoppable. He made some off passes here and there, but I don't think you can underestimate his value to this team. Like Steph said, he does all the dirty work, the work that no one else wants to do, the work that doesn't really get shown on camera, talking to the defenders, talking to the attackers, making sure the line is good, making sure everyone is okay, making sure that he puts attackers off, just by being near them. That's how fantastic, and his presence just affects anyone he plays against. So yeah, for me, Battaglia is my man of the match. He gets a 10 out of 10. Next player is William Carvalho. Steph, what would you give William out of 10?
Will Carvalho, I'll give him a 9. I mean, we have to take into account that he's basically the playmaker, and that's not easy to produce every game, to make plays every game, and he does that. He's very consistent. So I'm going to give him a 9 just because William Carvalho has been consistent since the very beginning. He had a couple downs, but nothing significant. But yesterday, playing a very tough pitch, a smaller pitch. The fans were, tough, supporting Pastoreta. Like you said, yesterday the game was very aggressive as well. So I'm going to give him a 9 because he showed that he can play tough as well. So a 9 to William Carvalho.
Fair enough. Danny, what would you give William out of 10?
I'm also going to give him an 8, simply because, maybe I'm being harsh, but I don't think both Battaglia nor William had an incredible game. I think our biggest problem last night, at least, was our midfield wasn't at their top form, I'd say. I think if it wasn't for our defense, the game could have went another way. That aggressivity that we needed, I don't think our midfield had too much of it, or had the right amount to really go eye to eye with Pastoreta. At least in the midfield, I felt like we lost a lot of battles, and William's part of that. And then to what Steph's saying, he is the playmaker for us, and he's been doing well throughout the season. And I mean, he didn't have a terrible game last night, but I don't think he was that great. But nonetheless, I think he gets an 8 out of 10.
I'm going to agree with you there. An 8 out of 10 for William Carvalho. I feel like he didn't really do much this game, but that being said, he's always the leader. He's one of the captains for a reason. So, again, I would like to see him impose himself a bit more and go in for those tackles. I feel like he was a bit afraid to go in for those tackles at some points, but it's a long season. He's just probably worried about getting injured. Getting healthy for the next games. So yeah, for me, I'll give William an 8 out of 10. Danny, what would you give Bruno Fernandes out of 10?
he's a tough one because he also had spells where he looked really good. There was one shot where he even hit off the post, and I thought it was another beautiful goal that he would score. But besides that, at times he was sloppy. He would give the ball away. At times he wasn't connecting well with Gelson and even Acuna on the wings like he normally would. Him and Bastos didn't necessarily have that understanding like they normally do. So it wasn't his best game in a Spartan jersey for sure. It wasn't a performance that we've become accustomed to with Bruno Fernandes. But that being said, he also wasn't terrible. I think, no, he didn't have an assist, but he was the one that crossed it in from the corner, and it was a well-delivered ball. So, it's tough. He was good at some moments, bad at others. I'll give him a 7 out of 10.
Steph, what would you give Bruno Fernandes out of 10?
I'm going to give him an 8. I mean, he's got to be, reaching some kind of a record because he's been hitting all kinds of posts and crossbars, and I mean, it's just bad luck as well. But he's trying to score from outside the box, and he's got an excellent kick. And yesterday again off the post, the left post of Pasqueda. But he never gave up. He's one of those players that his dynamic is different from every other player, and he's good to have someone on the pitch like him. He has a different vision of the game, so I'm going to give him an 8. He didn't complicate things. Playing low block teams, it's always a very difficult game to do so. And yesterday in the Pasquedes, he showed again that he could play against the big boys, but when you have reduced space, it's kind of difficult for him to show his vision. But an 8, a solid 8.
I want to give him an 8 as well. Again, he was one of those players that maybe didn't do as much as he should have, maybe to get that 9 rating, but he did give everything in that game. Like Danny said, that shot, the camera didn't pick up in time, so I thought it went in, but obviously hit the post and came back out. But I feel like sometimes, not in that shot particularly, but like I said before, he needs to just work on his passing, work on his vision, instead of just trying to do everything himself, which sort of reminds me of how Val Jose Martins was earlier in the season. But, I'm sure he'll improve. But for now, Bruno Fernandes gets a solid 8 as well. The next player I'll start off with is Marcos Acuna, and he's probably my lowest rated player. I'll probably give him a 6. I feel like he was too involved of getting aggressive and fouling and getting talking to the referee than he was, trying to actually play football, trying to get crossed in, trying to attack. I feel like he was just too focused on the other team than he should be on his own. And I think that really shows when you get a yellow card in the second minute for talking too much. So for me, Acuna gets a 6. Steph, what would you give Acuna in this game?
Okay, I'm going to give him Acuna a 7. And I agree. I mean, I don't know if it's because he was injured, coming off the injury, didn't play a couple games. He was off sync a little bit. You could see he was lacking a little bit of rhythm. But maybe he's fed up with the Portuguese referees. I mean, who's not? I am too. Everybody is. So, but he's got to be cautious about it because the day before on Sporting B against Famalicão, one of our players said, "Que foi, caralho?" I mean, within 4 minutes of the game, he was sent off with a red card. But that's all we hear in Portuguese games. They curse all the time, and it's questionable why a player from our B team was sent off 4 minutes into the game. And I think that was just a warning. Hey, be careful because the Pasquedes will do the same thing if we need be. And Acuna was just he has to be careful because the Portuguese referees they don't care. They will send you off because you curse at them. And I mean, I understand if I was a referee, I wouldn't like people cursing at me. I mean, but I would warn them first before pulling the trigger and showing them red cards right away because per the UEFA and the FIFA and each league, each Portuguese league or each league of the world, it says you should avoid showing yellow cards and red cards for the benefit of the game. And when you show yellow cards and red cards like you're giving away cupcakes, then you're taking away from the game. I hate referees that show yellow cards and red cards for nothing. Then you're affecting the whole game. But nevertheless, yes, Acuna was offline. being aggressive with the verbally with the referee and the opponent. And I'm pretty sure George is going to talk to him because he did say something at the flash interview. He said, "I think Acuna he still thinks he's in Argentina." Clearly sending him a message saying you have to take it easy in Portugal. It's different referees. It's a different style of play. So chill because you're not gonna last every game if you keep on doing what you're doing.
I agree. Danny, what would you give Acuna out of 10?
I agree with you, Sam. I give him a 6 out of 10. I think he got too emotional. Like I think Pastoreda got too under his skin at least. Got too much in his emotions. I mean, I agree with Steph. Portuguese refs for some reason, they'll curse all they want, and everybody else in the field always curses. I mean, the amount of foda-ses and caralhos I've seen on the field, and anytime exactly. Then the only thing that pisses me off about that sort of refs giving away yellows like it's nothing just because of a swear word. I mean, this is soccer. This is a referee. We're not in church. You know what I mean? I don't understand the point behind. I mean, there's a certain line where you don't cross, but I'm not too sure why they throw off yellows and reds like they did on Sporting Bid just for a little swear word. But anyways, back to Acuna. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest of games, but again, he was coming off of injury, so I kind of feel bad for him. Maybe he wanted to get back to that rhythm, or maybe Paz Ferreira said something to him that he didn't like, and whatever the case may be, he wasn't in the right mind state last game. And I mean that's why Jorge Jesus basically subbed him off for Bruno Cesar as well. But yeah, he gets a 6 out of 10. I think he was my worst. He was the worst man in my opinion as well.
Good points there. Steph, what do you think of Gelson Martin's game out of 10?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone deserves a 10 in this game, to tell the truth. I mean, I'm going to give him a 9. For me, he was my man of the match. At 10, it's when you have a real awesome game, and I don't think no one did, actually. But, I love the fact that what a beautiful goal. He pivot, and then he kicked the ball. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. He could have scored a couple more, and that's what he needs to get better at. He needs to get better at scoring goals. If he gets that on his resume, oh my God, this kid is going to be sold next summer, and he'll be one of the best players of the world. And I would say he could win the one of the golden boots and be the best player of the world. But as far as of now, no, of course not. He needs to learn how to take advantage of the opportunities that present to himself. If he scores those goals, then he's going to be one of the top-notch players of the whole world.
Fair enough. Danny, what did you think of Gelson's performance?
Yeah, he had a great performance last night. Again, like Steph said, a beautiful goal. And again, I 100% agree with you. If his finishing was a lot better, this kid would be another class of player. You know what I mean? And but yeah, no, he did very well yesterday. I'll also give him a 9 out of 10. He'll be my joint man of the match as well. It's too tough to give it to one person, to me. But Gelson, yeah, what a player he was, and he has been really. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I agree with you both actually. 9 out of 10. Like Danny said as well, I was torn between giving him man of the match or Battaglia, but both had fantastic games. But Gelson, that turn and that goal was just absolutely fantastic. That's the Gelson I think we've all been wanting to see for quite some time. And now that I think in the last 3 or 4 games, he's finally got his groove back. Finally, we've seen the Gelson Martins of last season, who was arguably the best sporting player, like maybe bar Bas Dost in the whole team. So, yeah, for me, Gelson gets a 9 as well. And finally, for the starting 11, I'll give this one to Danny. What would you give Bas Dost out of 10?
Bas Dost to me gets a 7 out of 10. He squandered a lot of chances again last night. There was an opportunity in the first half to put us 1-0 up, where I think it was Gelson crossing it in from the left, and it just slips by a Paz Ferreira defender. And I think Bas Dost could have done a lot better to get the goal. I think he should have scored on that situation. But with that being said, he was also involved with the Battaglia goal. He gets a 7 out of 10. He wasn't on his best yesterday as well. He didn't necessarily contribute a lot in the build-up play. He didn't hold the ball up well for Gelson or for the others attacking players. Yeah, wasn't his best game, but nonetheless, he did all right, I guess. I think there was also maybe something concerning him because on the press conference, Jorge Jesus was saying that maybe if he had another striker available, he wouldn't have started Bastos. So maybe that might have affected his game yesterday. Yeah, nonetheless, he wasn't at his best.
Fair enough. Steph, what would you give Dost out of 10?
I'm going to give him an 8 in that, I do agree with what Denny was saying to some degree. But the thing is, what people have to understand is that he's a striker. So he does the best he can do as far as defending. He's the first line of defense for any striker in the whole world is the first line of defense. But, he did his very best. He's a tall guy, so it's very difficult for him to sprint back like Gelson Martins, for example. He's much better defending than Bas Dost, but that's expected. We all expect that. That's a very tall individual. So, but besides that, the only thing that I would like him to do is when he has those chances to score goals, to score the goddamn goals, And he missed a couple clear chances yesterday, but you know what? Let's give credit to the Pasquale's goalie as well. That's why he gets paid for it to make saves for his team. But other than that, I'm giving him an 8, and that's it.
I'm going to go with Danny, give him a 7. I feel like he didn't actually do a lot that I can remember in that game. I don't even really remember him having that many touches of the ball, but I feel like with Bas Dost, like we always said, he needs to get the service, and I feel in that game at times he did get the service. Even you could say with the Battaglia goal, maybe he should have headed it in for himself. I feel like it was a bit clumsy going in there. But that being said, maybe what Danny said was right, that maybe Georgie's comments didn't really help. But that being said, I think he needs to be motivated because he needs to learn that he's not always going to be the number one striker. Because Dumbia, we haven't seen much of it, but I think a lot of us know that he is a good player and that he can compete with Bastos for that spot. Even we saw Rafael Leao on the bench. I feel like that was a message as well to Bastos saying, "Yeah, we're going to bring this youngster on for you if you don't improve." So yeah, for me, Bastos gets a 7. And penultimately, George Jesus tactics. Steph, what would you rate them out of 10?
I think let me see. So okay, so the tactic was Sporting was a 1-4-4-2. I think he was a bit too defensive. I mean, we do have to respect Pasquale's, but Pasquale hasn't been doing that well. So I believe they're in 12th position in the Portuguese league. We can, and I'm double checking now as we speak. Yeah, they're in 13th place actually. So they dropped one more position. So we do have to respect our opponents, but when we know we're better than them, we should go after like a 1-2-3 score. So I think he played way too defensive. So I'm going to give him an 8.
Fair enough. Danny, what would you give Georgie's tactics out of 10?
I'll also give him an 8. Not necessarily that he was too defensive, I'd say. I think he's just not... I feel like it's always been the case when he comes up against Petit or a team similar to him that's very aggressive, that's more, willing to play the foul rather than play the ball sort of thing. Petit always gets the better of him at times, and he didn't necessarily do... I don't want to say he didn't do much to stop it because at the end of the day, we did win. I don't know how to explain it, to be honest with you, but I think he did good enough. I mean, it was the typical formation. We played a similar way like we normally do. I just think that Petit and Pasquale were very up to it as well, more than maybe we were expecting, or their quality was a lot more that game than other games because, of course, when you play a big team, you get more motivation behind it. So maybe that's what stopped us from really shining yesterday. So just for that, I'll give him an 8. But I mean, it was the typical tactic that we've been accustomed to this season. With Bastos up front and Bruno French playing sort of just behind them and stuff like that. But yeah, anything special, I think.
Yeah, I'll give him an 8 out of 10 as well. But then again, the saying I've always used in football is, as long as you get the 3 points, it doesn't really matter about the performance. Well, it does to an extent, but 3 points is 3 points. It's not a loss, not a draw, it's a win. And Georgia's tactics got us a win. It wasn't the most beautiful game I've ever seen Sporting play. It was nitty and gritty, and it wasn't. It was just down to the what's the word they're saying?
Down to the wire,
elbow, I guess. Not down to the wire. Down to the. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it took a lot out of the players. Is what I'm trying to say. The tactics, but I don't think it was that. It was defensively, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, that's why I'm giving George Jesus an 8. And finally, we've got the sporting performance in general. Danny, what would you give the sporting performance out of 10?
Yeah, I'll also give it an 8. They weren't all the way up for it. Maybe the pressure of Portugal dropping points and us having to capitalize on it were on the back of the players' minds. But thankfully they won. So like you said before, it doesn't matter how we win, just as long as we win. And I'm glad that the players did it because, other years Sporting may have bottled it. So, yeah, no, I'm happy with the result at least. So an 8 out of 10. Hopefully next time will be better.
Fair enough. Steph, what would you give sporting performance out of 10?
I'm going to give them an 8. I mean, they accomplished the mission, which was to win in Paso Freires, and we always knew that this would be a difficult game. So we won 2-1. It should have been 2-0, but whatever. But an 8. Mission was accomplished. We got the 3 points. We closed it to Porto. We only 2 points away, so that's it, an 8.
Yeah, I agree as well. An 8. Some players didn't step up, like I mentioned. I'd say Bastos and Acuna, but other than that, I feel everyone else played their part well. So yeah, that is an 8 as well. So that's the end of the player ratings. Steph, have you got a universe roundup to share with us today?
Yes, I do. So basically, and you guys should know this because we 2 things happened this weekend, which were amazing things, which qualified us to the Final Four of the Futsal Cup. Our team, Sporting Club Portugal, once again for the 6th time, they're in the Final Four of the Futsal Cup, which is a huge deal. Basically, that's the biggest tournament, the biggest trophy of the futsal. It's just like the Champions League. So we're among the best once again, which is a huge deal. Then in tennis table, for the first time in the Champions League as well, we reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which is a huge deal. Then in U19, we won 5-0 at home. In U17, we lost against our rival Benfica 1-0. But it's only phase 2. It's not even the Champions League, the Champions round yet. So we still have room to improve and do better. But they played well, but couldn't score. That was the bottom line. Iniciados, we won. And volleyball, we won as well, 3-0. And basically, that's it.
There was just one more piece of news that I wanted to get at, and this revolves around the former player Adrian, who I believe he just found out the gender of the baby he's having, which is a girl. So congratulations to you, Adrian. Sporting's next game, I've literally just had it in my head, but I forgot. Who is it against? Can anyone remind me?
Belenenses.
Yeah.
Okay. So predictions for them ones. I'll give Danny the first prediction. What do you think the score will be?
Hopefully a better performance. I'll say 2-0. Hopefully we can keep the clean sheet this week.
Okay, Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say 3-0 against Belenenses. We'll play at home, and we with the game before Porto Benfica. So I'm expecting us to win 3-0 and then to finish the weekend in first place.
Fair enough. Danny went with 2, Steph went with 3. I'm going to go with 4 just to change things up. I'm going to go with a 4-0. Hopefully Bastos gets a hat-trick. Yeah, pretty much 4-0. That is the end of the episode. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and peace.
Viva Sporting.
Viva Sport.